Hello there everyone, welcome to the channel if you're new, welcome back if you are not. I am EDJ, and we are continuing with a new series by Epic History TV called Belisarius. I think that's the way you say it. I call him Belisarius, but I think Belisarius. Either way, he's about to say it and I'll remember. But yeah, I did a poll a little over a week ago asking what the new series would be for Mondays. Hannibal won, but I noticed Belisarius came in second, and I was like, this series is a little shorter. It's like six parts, I believe, in total. So I'm like, I could definitely record that in line with Hannibal. So I've decided for Thursdays we're gonna be covering here. So yeah, I mainly added this because of its shortness, and it's easier to manage. It's not like 20, or 30 episodes long, because then I would have to reconsider. But yeah, overall, we know a lot about Epic History TV on here. We covered his fabulous Napoleon series, which might just be one of the greatest history series on here, and second to none, I think. So yeah, he's already proven just how great of a creator he is, and yeah, so I can't wait to, learn more about Belisarius. Wait a second. Okay, let's see how Google says this.
Belisarius.
Belisarius.
Belisarius. Okay. Belisarius. Okay, sorry. But yeah, so what do I know about this guy? I mainly learned about him when we were covering Dova Hadi's Unbiased History of Rome. When we got to his Byzantine part, he talked about this dude, and that was kind of me knowing more about him. Like, I knew about Emperor Justinian. He's probably the only Byzantine emperor I actually knew of. Even before I started getting into history like this. So, him and Justinian are kind of like another power duo. I call them like Augustus and Agrippa 2.0, because, Belisarius is, the military commander, one of the greats, as, Dova Hadi kind of summarized some of his exploits. And yeah, overall, him and Justinian just kind of give me Agrippa and Augustus, vibes. So, yeah, I think one of his tactics was kind of like using torches to make his army look bigger than it was. It would scare people off or something. Then again, it is, I know Dova Hadi and by his history, it's kind of, it's more meant to be like funny and a joke than it is, legit. But it did have its moments that made me want to look more into history. So yeah, we're gonna see something more, I guess you could say legit with Epic History TV. So I'm really looking forward to this. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say other than let's get to it, shall we? If you want to watch the original video without me talking or pausing to talk, the link is down in the description down below. With that said, and without any further ado, let us watch Belisarius, Part 1, The Emperor's Sword.
(532 AD). Constantinople, the greatest city in the world, is in flames. But this is no barbarian attack. Citizens of the Eastern Roman Empire are rioting, murdering state officials and setting buildings on fire. Trapped inside his own palace, Emperor Justinian fears his reign is over. He's already given in to the mob's demands and sacked his most hated officials. But now the crowds acclaim a new emperor, Hypatius. It's his wife, Empress Theodora, who'll give him the courage to act, and his most trusted general, Belisarius, to whom he'll turn to crush his enemies and save the regime. After centuries of imperial crisis, Justinian's reign will witness a Roman fightback that few had dreamed possible. Great victories over the barbarians, the reconquest of Rome itself, the reunification of the empire.
Yeah, that was Justinian's ambition, right? Restore the empire. And I think under him, his reign in particular, the Byzantine Empire, it's Rome, but, you know, just for the sake of, I guess, distinguishing it. But, yeah, under his reign was the largest the Byzantine Empire got, right? So, yeah, he came really close to almost the restoration of Rome, which would have been insane, you know?
Belisarius is the commander who will lead this onslaught. He will be remembered as Rome's last great general.
Rome's last great general. That's interesting to say, because I'm pretty sure, yeah, obviously the Byzantines, you know, Eastern Rome goes on to like the year 14, I forget the later part, but you know, that around that century. And you know, I had people commenting basically say, well, you know, there are plenty of other capable commanders after, you know, like some people were talking about Basil. I haven't, like I said, I haven't done much research into the Eastern Roman Empire specifically. I only knew like one emperor from that point on, which was Justinian. But yeah, so there are other people who could command and lead. Though I guess Belisarius might be so great that no one who came after him could match, right? At least that's what I'm supposing. So, yeah. Five years earlier.
527 AD. It's more than 50 years since the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Rome itself, the Eternal City, is now part of an Ostrogothic kingdom of Italy. But though Rome may have fallen, the empire endures. The Eastern Roman Empire remains a force to be reckoned with. An estimated 30 million people live under the rule of the emperor in Constantinople. His authority stretches from the ravaged Balkans to the imperial breadbasket, Egypt, the Arabian desert, to the mountains of Armenia. This Christian empire remains unrivaled in administrative sophistication, economic power, and military might. But the new emperor, Justinian, faces formidable challenges. In 527, he succeeds Justin, his uncle and adopted father, becoming the first son to succeed his father as emperor in more than a century. Justinian is from a tough peasant background in Thrace, what's now Serbia. He's highly educated, restless and driven, and sets himself two ambitious goals. First, to restore harmony in the Christian Church by ending the schism between Chalcedonian or Orthodox Christians and Miaphysites, who argue over Christ's human and divine nature. Second, to reform and rationalize Roman law, the divinely sanctioned institution that distinguishes the Roman world from the barbarian. The imperial majesty should not only be adorned with arms, but also be armed with laws, so that there may be good government in times both of war and peace, he later declares. But as for any Roman emperor, the ultimate test of his legitimacy will come in war. For now, Justinian has good relations with the Vandals in North Africa and the Ostrogoths in Italy. The Balkan frontier requires constant vigilance. The successors to Attila's Hun Empire are never quiet for long. But it's in the east that Justinian faces his most immediate challenge. The Persian Sassanid Empire, a rival superpower of the Middle East. This frontier has been a battleground for centuries and witnessed its share of Roman defeats, including one emperor captured, another killed. For most of the last century, the shared menace of the Huns led to a wary coexistence. But it could not last. In 525, the Christian king of Iberia in the Caucasus appealed to the Romans for aid when the Persian king Kavad tried to impose Zoroastrian rituals on his country. The Romans send military aid, and the conflict escalates, with both sides launching cross-border raids.
Join large-scale battles with military vehicles. The online action game War Thunder has received a major update.
The Romans begin building a new fort at Minduos. The Persians attack, rout the Roman troops, and destroy the building works. One of the Roman generals to escape this debacle is Flavius Belisarius. Clearly he is not blamed, because the next year Justinian makes him commander of all Roman troops in the east, though he's barely 30 years old. Belisarius and the Emperor are old comrades, and come from the same humble background in Thrace. He had served in Justinian's own regiment when he was still heir to the throne. His wife Antonina is the best friend of Empress Theodora, and like her, from a dubious background in the acting profession.
Yeah, wasn't the Empress Dorothea, wait a second. Yeah, Theodora, I'm so sorry. If for anyone new coming on this channel, you'll always know I struggle with pronouncing everything, so again, I apologize. For those of you who've been around for a while, you kind of are most likely used to it at this point. But, yeah, I believe I was reading some expert about her, like, yeah, she was kind of like a... It was a weird one, like, apparently, like, it was kind of like acting, but also like prostitution in a weird way. Like there's a weird excerpt I was reading that like she would like cover herself, like she would be like nude or like cover herself in bird seeds and would have like, I don't know, like swans or something like eat. Like, it's weird, it's wild. I don't know how true it is, but wait, let me pull it up if I can find it. Yeah, then again, by the way, I know this is Wikipedia, and I know a lot of people don't like Wikipedia, but still, like, this guy, Procopius wrote that Theodora made a name for herself for her pornographic portrayal of Leda and the Swan, where she would have birds eat seeds from her nude body. Like, I remember reading that, I was like, what the heck? Yeah, apparently it's here. Maybe she met Antonia, the wife of Belisarius. I'm not gonna read all that, but I just, again, I know Wikipedia, right? Like, my professors at school would be like, oh, don't use Wikipedia. Like, I don't know, I'd still kind of just look at it. And that's wild. I'm so sorry, I remembered that, and I was like, oh, I gotta share it with you guys.
Both Roman and Persian empires mobilizing for war. The next year, 530, will see Belisarius' first major test as a commander. The troops that Belisarius commands are far removed from the famous legions with which Rome conquered its empire centuries ago. Hard lessons learned from fighting Huns and Persians have helped to forge a new Roman army. For centuries, cavalry was the neglected arm of the Roman military, a role usually outsourced to foreign auxiliaries. Now, heavy armoured cavalry known as clibanarii and cataphracti, armed with lance and sword, form the army's elite shock units. Some armoured cavalry, as well as cursores, light cavalry, also carry bows. The Romans, in imitation of the Huns and Persians, are now horse archers themselves.
That same old Roman adaptability, you know, like the best example is when I think of like the first Punic War. I'm sorry, I spit. When I think of the first Punic War, like Rome didn't have a navy; they weren't naval people at all, and then they just took the plans of a Carthaginian ship and just made their own navy and ended up defeating, you know, Carthage at their own game. Like, you know, that's the example I always cite when I think of Roman adaptability, which is a skill that I think the Romans just had in spades that very few did. They could just adapt and take the best from their enemy and use it for themselves. And it's just such an awesome skill. Like, really, that's why even now, like, there's a reason they lasted long, guys. They are insane.
The best units are the Bucellari, the biscuit eaters, named after the army ration.
Biscuit eaters.
These hand-picked soldiers form a general's personal regiment. Long service, good pay and equipment, plus a personal oath of loyalty make them his most reliable troops. Roman archers are now armed with the more powerful composite reflex bows of the Huns. And while infantry still made up around 2/3 of a Roman army, its role is more defensive, forming a secure base from which the cavalry could launch its attacks. The standard infantry unit is also smaller, called a new...
That reminds me, with their increase of cavalry, like, we're watching early Rome right now with Caesar and whatnot, but, and we saw some with, like, you know, Pyrrhus of Epirus by kings and generals, but yeah, I think it isn't until, like, I remember it was in the crisis of the 3rd century that Emperor Gallienus kind of put a heavy emphasis on cavalry and created one giant elite, you know, mobile cavalry force and was winning battles left and right. And it goes to show you that cavalry is just OP, guys. Like, I play this game called Mount and Blade Warband, and having a lot of cavalry kind of ensures you win most battles, especially like heavily armored cavalry. Again, it's just a game, I know, but like cavalry's OP, and it seems like the Romans are seeing that now, right? Because back then they were infamous mainly for just their infantry, but it's, you know, now you see the heavy emphasis on such a OP, you know, like, you know, OP thing in war.
Numerous in Latin, arithmos in Greek, about regimental size, from 1,000 to 1,500 men. They're more mixed, with armoured veterans to form a fulcrum or shield wall, and more missile troops behind them to unleash a barrage of arrows, javelins and darts. Finally, Rome boosts its military strength by recruiting the very barbarians it had once despised, including Huns, Goths and Heruli. Those outside the empire are recruited as mercenaries. Those within serve as foederati, federates, and are usually commanded by their own officers. The military organization of the empire has also been overhauled. 2 central field armies stationed on either side of the Bosphorus are commanded by a magister militum presentalis and form a strategic reserve. Field armies based in Thrace, Illyria, Armenia and the East are each commanded by a magister militum and form regional rapid reaction forces. The frontiers are held by the limitani. These are the lowest paid and least well equipped troops, only expected to hold their fortified outposts until reinforcements arrive. Limitani are organized into local groups, each commanded by a dux, origin of our word, duke.
Wow. You just see how much comes from Rome, right? But yeah, it's like, I'm still like shocked, so yeah, the Byzantine, the eastern half of Rome continues even through like the Middle Ages. Like, Rome lasted a long time, like when I think about that, like, oh my goodness, they were around forever. And you know, I have to say, it's cool, it's hard to argue when the Roman army was at its best, because, you know, people would probably just say, oh, you know, on early Rome, but I'm like, the thing is why I struggle with that is because Rome evolved so much. Like, you could look at the late Republic, you know, the Republic, the Empire, all throughout the Empire, the unified West and Eastern Empire, you know, from Caesar to Trajan to, like I said, the crisis of the 3rd century Gallienus, just even now to the Byzantines. It's like Rome never stopped evolving. So it's like, it's hard. I mean, I know we kind of just put the legion, we kind of have the image of the legion, you know. Wait. Yeah, this is usually the army people think of Rome, right? This is the standard, stereotypical legion look that most people just kind of will be the first thing that pops into most people's head when they talk about Rome. Is that a child? I'm sorry. Yeah, this is it, you know? But it's like, that was only like, for a few centuries? They didn't look like that before, and they didn't look like that after. It just kept evolving, kept changing, even to like the Middle Ages, like I said, it lasted. So like, Rome had so many different like looks. The army just kept evolving and changing with the time, you know? So, you know, it's just fascinating, I think, you know, seeing this and just like, wow, how different the priorities of the cavalry, how things have changed, you know, through the centuries. And yeah, it's just amazing.
Yet the thought has many times occurred to me, how many and how great are the benefits which accrue to states through history, which transmits to future generations the memory of those who have gone before, and resists the steady effort of time to bury events in oblivion. The historian Procopius is our key witness for the events of this period.
We just covered him in the Wikipedia page. Procopius, a historian. I don't know anything about him, if he has any biases or anything. Which you have to be careful when you cite these historians, right? But yeah, we'll see.
Period. He was born around 500 in the city of Caesarea in Palestine and received a first-class education. In 527, he was appointed assessor, or legal advisor, to Belisarius. He effectively became the general's secretary and, on occasion, aide-de-camp. Working from notes and writing in Greek, he would publish his great work, History of the Wars, in 551. Procopius's account is highly favourable to Belisarius, but there will be a sting in the tale, a scandalous, secret history, which will emerge later in the tale.
Wow.
530 AD. King Kavad sends an army to capture the Roman front.
On June 6, 1944, the most significant amphibious operation the world has ever...
Frontier fortress at Dara. Today, the ruins of Dara lie on the Turkish-Syrian border, their scale hinting at the size of the Roman fortress that once stood here.
Wow.
Belisarius is warned that 40,000 Persian troops are advancing on Dara. He can only assemble 25,000 troops to meet them. For reasons that are unclear, Belisarius decides to make his stand outside the city walls to the south. His men dig ditches to strengthen their position, with both flanks thrown forward. The infantry is placed in the center, with cavalry on both flanks. Two groups of 600 Hun mercenaries are positioned between them in support. At the rear, he places his reserve, his own Bucellari. When the huge Persian army...
It is interesting to see the implementation of mercenaries, because, you know, there's so much of Rome's early rise in history, they was mainly just relying on, you know, raising up Romans. But I think a big flaw that was happening during the end of at least the western portion of Rome is that they couldn't keep raising armies that effectively anymore, and they relied heavily on outside forces and like mercenaries, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it is an interesting thing that I was learning about. So yeah.
Army arrives before Dara. Belisarius is ready and waiting. The first day begins with a standoff. The two generals exchange letters. Belisarius urges Firuz to withdraw, to allow time for further negotiations. Firuz tells the Roman to prepare his bath. He intends to be in Dara by nightfall.
Okay, that was a funny response. Prepare me a dinner while you're at it.
The Persians launch one probing attack against the Roman left wing, perhaps testing their defences. The Persians are driven off, with 7 killed. When a young Persian warrior rides between the lines and challenges any Roman to face him in single combat, his offer is accepted by Andreas. Andreas has no military training, but he's a wrestling instructor of huge strength. Before the Persian knows what's happening, Andreas has knocked him off his horse with his lance, then dismounts to finish him off. Like a sacrificial animal, in the words of Procopius. Andreas later kills a second Persian challenger, to Roman cheers and the dismay of the Persians. The next morning, Firuz receives 10,000 reinforcements, bringing his total strength to 50,000. With odds of 2 to 1 in his favour, he decides to attack. Firuz forms up his army, with infantry and foot archers in the centre, and his Persian heavy cavalry, the feared Savaran, on both wings. He also divides his army into 2 parts, a front line and a reserve line, so that fresh troops can be rotated into the fighting. He keeps a unit of immortals, the elite Persian heavy cavalry, as his personal reserve. But first, he waits. He knows the Romans usually eat in the morning, and are growing hungry, while his own troops are accustomed to eating later in the day. Finally, at noon, he gives the order. The Persian army advances to within bowshot, and both armies unleash a storm of arrows. Persia is famed for the skill of its archers, but today, the wind favors the Romans. When the archers run out of arrows, the Persian cavalry begins its advance. This is the moment Belisarius has prepared for. The Savaran crash into his left wing, driving the Roman horsemen back. But the Persians haven't spotted 300 Heruli horsemen hidden behind a slope on the Roman left, waiting for this moment. They rush out from cover and attack the Persian cavalry from behind.
The flank.
Then 600 Huns fall on their flank. Under this onslaught, the Persian cavalry turns and flees, with heavy losses.
Wow.
Firuz
That was
switches
just a trap. He essentially caught them in a trap and flanked them from 2 sides. Very nice, Belisarius. Very, very nice.
to the other flank, attacking with his heavy cavalry, supported by the elite immortals. The Roman cavalry breaks under the pressure, streaming back to the walls of Dara. But Belisarius has seen the threat. He recalls the Huns that are pursuing the Persian right wing and launches both Hun groups, as well as his own Bucellari, against the flank and rear of the Persian attack. It's the decisive moment of the battle. The Persian left wing suddenly finds itself under attack from 3 sides. Those that can't escape are cut down. Sunikas, one of the Hun captains, killed...
You know, the armor of this time just looks so awesome. Can I just admire it? Like, it's just, I don't know, something about it's just cooler or more unique to look at than certain times. Even like the Roman legionary, we showed some images, it's like pretty plain, but I just like how colorful like the Byzantine armor and just its era could be. Just look at that. Even the armor of horses, it just looks so cool. Wait, give me a second. So yeah, sorry, I'm just like looking at it. Again, this is just random Google images. I don't know how accurate any of this is. It's just, there is something like really cool. Like, I don't know, there's something just really cool about some of these like images. I don't know, it's like the art. I don't know, just the armor looks cool. Sorry, I just really wanted to admire that.
A Persian standard bearer, then General Barsham himself, who commands the Persian left wing. With the elite units of the Persian army in flight, the infantry offers little resistance. Most are peasant conscripts, no match for Roman cavalry. Soon the entire Persian army is en route. Belisarius, content with his victory and unwilling to risk any last-minute reverse, halts the pursuit. Procopius tells us 8,000 Persians lay dead on the battlefield, a number that could be accurate. For on that day, the Persians had been defeated in battle by the Romans, a thing which had not happened for a long time. Belisarius has won a brilliant victory for the empire. Later that year, Citas, Magister Militum of Armenia, wins another victory over the Persians at Satala. The war is swinging in Rome's favor. But the following year, encouraged by a Samaritan revolt in Palestine, King Kavad orders a large-scale raid along the Euphrates River. Belisarius assembles an army to meet them. But having ravaged Roman territory, the Persians are content to withdraw with their loot. Belisarius shadows them. His subordinates urge him to destroy the enemy before they escape. So, against his better judgment, he attacks the Persians on Easter Sunday at Callinicum. The battle is a disaster.
Oh dear.
Rome's Arab allies, the Hassanids, hold the right flank. But Procopius...
This is why I stopped shopping on Amazon, and you should too. Don't spend another dime on Amazon.
accuses them of fleeing at the first sign of danger. Persian cavalry rolls up the entire Roman line. In desperation, the Roman infantry form a shield wall with their backs to the river. They hold off the enemy cavalry, buying time for the remains of the army to escape across the river. Callinicum is a humiliation for Rome and for Belisarius. His own role in the battle is unclear. According to Procopius, he remained with the infantry, organizing the retreat. Another source claims he was among the first to flee. It had clearly been a serious blunder to give in to pressure from his subordinates to fight an unnecessary battle. Belisarius is removed from command and recalled to Constantinople. Justinian is forced to pay a subsidy and make a compromise peace with Persia. Not with King Kavad, who dies that year, but with his 20-year-old son, Khosrow. Khosrow will prove to be the greatest of all Sasanian kings, hailed as Anushirvan, the immortal soul, and will prove a dangerous rival to the Romans.
Wow. So yeah, Belisarius' record isn't completely perfect. Like I said, I don't fully know a lot about the man. I'm not gonna pretend I'm a Belisarius expert, but yeah, good to know that. Yeah, you know, he made. Again, I don't know to what extent his role was in the battle, but obviously giving into peer pressure. So, not a completely perfect record, but we'll see. You know.
When major rioting breaks out in Constantinople the next year, Belisarius is in the capital, eager to restore his tarnished reputation. The riots have been instigated by the factions of the Hippodrome, the Greens and Blues. These are more than chariot racing fans. The factions run whole areas of the city. At first, they seek only the release of jailed comrades. But then there are calls for a new emperor, Hypatius, nephew of Emperor Anastasius. It's likely that Justinian's rivals in the Senate are now pulling the strings. Justinian hesitates. He wonders if they should flee the capital. Then Theodora speaks up. Life as a fugitive, she declares, would be unendurable. Better the old saying, royal purple makes a noble shroud. In other words, better to go down fighting. The Emperor is emboldened by Theodora's words, and orders Belisarius and another general, Mundus, to crush the revolt.
Yeah, Belisarius goes on to just completely massacre these people, right? If I remember, you know, when we went over that through the unbiased history of the Byzantines, and yeah, Theodora and Justinian are regarded as a power couple in history, and I've known them since, you know, I was kind of like a child. Like I said, Justinian's the only like Byzantine emperor I knew, and I, you know, obviously heard of Theodora, and people like are always regarding them as one of the most famous and like, you know, couples of history. I don't know exactly what the Theodora's specifics she did for the empire, like which would make her and Justinian a power couple, which I'm gonna have to, you know, obviously look up more later. But yeah, just another interesting being there. Obviously she motivated him to get his head out of the sand, if you would. So yeah, very interesting.
Belisarius' hardened troops launch a sudden attack on the rioters. There is no mercy. The streets run with blood. The final death toll is estimated at 30,000.
Oh my
a
gosh.
staggering 1 in 20 of the city's population.
Oh my gosh. 30. I thought it was gonna be like a few hundred. Wow, I'm legitimately caught off guard. 30,000. Oh my gosh. That is brutal.
The next day, Justinian orders the execution of Hypatius and his brother, probably innocent pawns in somebody else's plot. Their bodies are tossed into the sea. Thanks to Theodora and Belisarius, Justinian's throne is safe, for now. A Roman emperor relied on one quality more than any other from his generals: loyalty. Belisarius has proved his beyond doubt. Now, Justinian needs to shore up support for his regime, assert his legitimacy and God's favor with a military victory. He has his costly peace with the Sassanid Empire, so he will turn west. A war to reclaim Rome's lost provinces from the barbarians will be a service to God and Justinian. Such a mission can be entrusted to only one man: Belisarius.
Heck yeah. Let's take back Rome, baby. Heck yeah.
Massive thanks to legend.
So yeah, I guess he's done. And that was a very good, again, with Epic History TV, you always expect quality because he always delivers quality, right? And so yeah, that was a great first part. I can't wait to see the conquest of, you know, of Rome again, and just, yeah, again, this is just gonna be a really epic series, I can already tell. I'm looking very much forward to it, guys. And yeah, Belisarius, man, just like, you know, where I saw Hannibal on Monday, and yeah, I just love learning about tactics and strategy and just how great commanders commanded, you know? And I can't wait to have a newfound appreciation of Belisarius once this is all said and done, because I feel like it's coming. And yeah, that's really all I have to say. I will be seeing you guys next time. Bye, everyone.